Rose, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I know all this press you do for these things can take up so much time, so I really do appreciate it.
Oh, no, no worries. The pleasure.
Yeah, of course. Well, how has it been with let's start with the Moana thing. Yeah, I heard your voice. I was in a theater alone, me and seven other adults, all sitting separately, didn't know who each other were, 11 a.m. on a
That is
Tuesday.
that is the
Uh,
way in which you should watch a children's film like Moana too. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Yeah, how has that been? How's everything been with like being a part of now this new franchise and a big part of Disney?
Well, yeah, it was I've been working on that for years now, to be honest. And when I first came on to it, it was obviously it was for television. I mean, it was for Disney Plus. It was a TV series,
Yeah.
and so I genuinely, I think I found out that it was going to be a sequel from Instagram because I was like, I saw a trailer for Moana 2, and I was like, what? What's that? That surely wasn't on the TV show. And so I think that was a slight error on the communication where I was like, what? So it has been kind of crazy see it go from obviously still, this big deal of a television series to, oh my God, a huge film. I've been in the US actually when it was coming out.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it just till I got back to the UK. But yeah, it's kind of astonishing. It's surreal. It was very weird. I went to the film cinema to see it with my friends the other day, and I was a bit like that's just weird. It's so weird. That I shouldn't be. Oh, what? That's not my voice. But yeah, it's a pleasure, and the people who made it was just so great and cool, and yeah, it was really fun.
Is it like how is that, that's a huge part of your life. And then you had the first special that you did, which was what was that called?
Horn dog.
Horn Dog. Yeah. So that first special, and then you had Starstruck. Those are three different levels of success. How does that compare to the previous things that you've done before?
As in like all of those projects, how are they kind of a step up, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, insanely so. I think it was because they all happened at a very short time frame.
Hmm.
Um, I had lived in the UK for I don't know, like 4 or 5 years. I don't know, was it 4 years? Maybe even less than that. But anyway, yeah, so I did Horn Dog. I did that in Edinburgh, and then that got taped. They were like, we want to film that. Then Starstruck got commissioned, and it all happened very, very quickly. Then also over the time of COVID, which was kind of insane, that
Yeah.
like literally I left the edit for Horn Dog to get on a plane to go back home to New Zealand for a year, in which that we were just about to start filming Starstruck, and then I had to go home. So I thought personally I would never do comedy again and never make a television show. And I was like, I need to retrain. I need to learn how to plant grains. I'm not sure. Know how to, tend to crops. But thankfully, we were able to make it. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty awesome because it meant that I felt like I came back to the UK and I was like, oh, I'm probably can pursue comedy here now
Yeah.
without without basically draining all my savings that I was in the first 2 years of
Right.
yeah.
I understand. I get it. It's a comedy. Comedy's tough, and I think when a lot of people get to the Fringe Festival, I think that's a great place for people to be because you have to, in such a short amount of time, over the course of a month, you have to
Mm.
do the same thing over and over and over again. And
Yeah.
it's the 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell talks about. It's you sharpening that knife, and when you
Yeah.
come out of there, you can have while you have this project, you also have this new sense of, oh, I did this thing. I did a play, I did specials, I did all this stuff in 30 days, and I feel like I'm a different person. And
Yeah.
that couldn't have been easy. And then to for all of it to come to a sudden stop. It's like
Yeah.
stop and go traffic. You're going, 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 and then all of a sudden you come to this roadblock. And man, I can't imagine it.
It was meant to. I mean, it got back to it got back to normal after a year or
Mhm.
so. But then I think the whole I think things have changed though, because I think there was a real return to going to see live comedy, but I think that that period of time where so much of it went online, I do think has changed the uh sort of structure of comedy, or at least the
Mhm.
way in which people start doing comedy. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people started doing comedy or young when they started during like COVID era. So it was like they didn't start by doing live gigs, so they were starting more online. So that's why they're much more, clip comedy is much more prevalent and stuff, which I think
Mhm.
probably would have been a progression that would have happened anyway, just the way the world works. But I think it was
Sure. Yeah.
probably accelerated by the fact that we weren't able to like do it properly for
Yeah.
quite a few. Yeah, yeah. So no.
Is has it changed if it's changed the way people are taking in comedy and even movies and TV shows and even music? How has it changed for you when you're writing comedy, or has it changed? Has it been something that you take into account and go, hey, people like faster jokes, people like bigger jokes, broader jokes? What is it like for you?
I mean, I think I've never really. It's things I think I notice from afar, but I've never really. I'd say the cool way of being it was I don't let it affect me, but I'm just too stupid to even try to improve to improve my reach by appealing to a broader demographic or whatever, or doing stuff that would get me more fans, I guess. I don't think I think I'm really I've been doing it for such a weirdly long time, that I've sort of gone through so many changes in it,
Mhm.
uh, that I feel like I feel like I mean, don't quote me on this because next week you'll see me like putting up a clip being like taking down a heckler. But I think I'm really lucky because I got to do shows and make the TV show I made and do like film a special before that kind of was like having clips online and having, that kind of a bigger following on social media and all this stuff was more necessary to getting into it. So
Yeah.
I think I have um I've sort of circumvented that a bit, but who knows? Who knows what the future holds? I mean,
Right.
I feel like lots of my comedy was like, when Horn Dog, like it was lots of visual comedy and, tech stuff, which I think was really influenced by very early, like, I came up with like YouTube and Vine and like all
Mhm.
of that stuff. So it was actually, there was, I certainly, I certainly was inspired by that sort of format
Yeah.
of comedy at that time. But recently I did try and do, I was filming, I was trying to film clips for YouTube, but I was filming it on my Hi8 video camera. I've still got
Okay.
the footage somewhere. I was actually going to put it up on Instagram, and I was trying to like get a cool clip for online. But we'll see if that makes it
I
to
love
the,
I love the effort. That's amazing.
yeah, a lot of effort, too much effort.
Yeah,
Too much.
it's interesting. I've been doing this for 11 years. I've been talking to comedians for, over a decade, and it is I like you said, I've seen the transition. It's TikTok didn't exist, 5 it wasn't as big as I guess 5
Yeah.
years ago. And even still 11 years ago, I can't imagine having to now cut 7 videos and make sure that they all come out on a scheduled time. And I talk with comedians all the time about like it must be tough because you have to either you have that brain component or you don't. And
Yeah.
for me, I know I don't because I'm boring as hell. I don't want to sit on
Mhm.
Instagram and TikTok and say this is going to go viral and here's all the captions and this is how it works. And I mean, for you, you have to plan around that if because that's part of your career. You have to tell, oh, this joke is a minute and 30 seconds long. I can put it on Instagram Reels and holy shit, it's going to be the biggest thing in the world and everybody's going to love it. And then, it flops or whatever, but that's just not like I just
Oh, well,
don't have that type of
I
brain.
don't have that either. I don't have that in me. I think that's like I think there's so much funny stuff online on TikTok or whatever. I don't have TikTok, but there is so much funny stuff. But I do think that the cynicism of wanting to expect a certain result as opposed to it just being purely a creative platform is a bit of a downside of it, because if you're making content for Uh, you know, a lot of comedians do it to push people to go see them live, which really makes sense. But I
Yeah.
think, you know, the idea that you make a video and that doesn't get many likes and you kind of think, oh, that was a failure. It's like, it wasn't a failure. Like, it's not necessarily a failure. I honestly think I've been watching so many Vine compilations at the moment, and I was like, that was such a pure, perfect era of online
Yeah.
comedy, which is, I think, was actually so much weirder and abstract than anything I see, well, many things I see now, because
Hmm.
it was just so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And it was never made to go like necessarily, like the idea of going viral was wasn't so prevalent then. It was just more like I want
Right.
to do some stupid things online. And so early YouTube and early Vine, I do miss as a truly creative place. Like that wasn't monetized essentially, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, I miss it. Vine compilations.
Yeah.
Vine
Vine, you
compilations.
had 5 seconds, 5 seconds for a video to make people laugh. And if you did it, then you won. You won that day. That was everything for me.
Critical. Yeah, I know. It was beautiful. R.I.P.
Yeah. And then I'm quoting Vines every single day. It's the best. It's
Totally. It's worse. That makes it sound really old. If you're quoting
yeah.
lines, you know that you're like, oh, you're fucking, you've got bad news now.
Exactly. Um, let's see. Now, the first time I saw you, I remember very specifically. It was on Late Night with Seth Meyers, and you were promoting Starstruck, and that made me go watch the show. I love the show, and it's so. And this is what I like about shows from across the pond.
Yeah.
People say that. It's that they're so short and they're so bite-sized, and they can be just as dense and meaty as the longest running shows here. With Starstruck, making that and then watching you do stand up, it's so crazy because that's speaking of two parts of the brain for TikTok. That shows off a different side of you because Starstruck is 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes of a show, and you have to lay plot and make character development. While for stand up, you gotta say, hey, I'm 30s, I'm dating, I've been dumped, and this is me, and you have to do so much in so little time. What's it like balancing between writing for the stage and then writing for television for you?
I mean, I think they're just as you say, like different parts of your brain. And I mean, maybe to be honest though, it could be. I think it's the same brain, but you're just writing to a different medium. Like I
Mm.
think knowing the restrictions and sort of the strengths of each of them, you know, you just write to that. Like stand-up's a much more direct form of address, you know, and it's like
Right.
personal because you're going, I'm speaking as myself, you know, usually, as myself, and these are the things I think, and you can quite succinctly introduce a concept or idea. Whereas I think you in a narrative form, you have to be a little bit more subtle. You can't be
Mhm.
as blunt as you can
Yeah.
be in stand-up, which is why you can cover so much more ground, I think, in an hour of stand-up than you do in a television show. But then a TV show, you've got an entire world that you can create, and you can pull together so many more strengths and sort of dynamics of different people and uh really wonderful cast that you can't do in stand up. So I wouldn't say it's different necessarily different brains, although like structures of stuff is like obviously different that you what you're going to
Right.
write as a joke and then what you're going to write as a script. So yeah, but I don't think I think I enjoy both equally, and I think doing this show was actually born out of having finished Starstruck, the third series, and I was in the edit, and I had lots of stuff going on in my brain and stuff going
Yeah.
on at the time, and it was like a great escape from having to watch myself get dumped in an edit suite, fake dumped in an edit
Yeah.
suite every day. Is that I could then go on stage and say some things that certainly haven't made it to the final version of the show. So yeah, so it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good yin and yang. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what was it like? Well, I mean, let's go from there. Working on and on and on, just developing the jokes and making sure that this is the exact product you want to put out. How did you come up with not how did you come up with your jokes? That's so stupid. 11 years. How did you approach that for yourself and getting to this fight? How'd you know when you were done?
With the show,
Yeah.
Got bored. No, when I got bored. I mean, I think there are always improvement. There's certainly ways in which I could improve the show, but I think you do have to just move on from a general concept and structure that you've been working with. I think there was a real flurry of material that came out of this sort of period of time that I was writing it, and the
Hmm.
ideas that I was sort of quite preoccupied with. And then you work on them, and then you express them and you articulate them, and then that kind of feels like, okay, I'm done with exploring this idea. And I think it's when, you stop finding funny things about it that you go, I think this might be done, make this into the best version of it, what it can be, and then kind of move on from it as a concept. But it is hard. It's also a slow process because you're constantly writing bunch of new material, and then you're trying to hone in on what's funny, and then honing
Yeah.
in on what's relevant to what you want to kind of say and what you want the show to be.
Mhm.
So that's why it's kind of taken, a couple of years to work on it and come to what
Yeah.
it is.
Well, I hope. I mean, I haven't seen it, but the trailer looks funny, and and you're already a funny person, so I have high expectations. Um, how did you guys approach directing it and all of that? What was that like for you?
Hmm. Well, I mean, it was interesting from compared to the first special I did with Horn Dog. um, I have now, in between those two specials, I had a lot more experience directing.
Hmm.
I think because obviously we directed series three of Starstruck, myself and Alice. And Alice is an exec producer on the special because I work really well with her, and she kind of knows exactly we've got similar tastes basically. And then
Yeah.
we're working with Barbara Wiltshire, who did the first special. So it was kind of returning to people who I've worked with already, and being able to see the things that I wanted to improve upon, like, on from the first special. And yeah, just I've got more of a opinion or a taste when it comes to what I want it to look like,
Hmm.
and how I want it to be. So, and more confidence, I guess, as well, in asking for what I want. So
Yeah.
that was really cool. That was a really cool thing to have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you walked in there, you said, "My show is on HBO Max. It's on Warner Brothers. I'm part of the BBC family.
I
Come
just
on."
a t-shirt saying, "Do you know who I am?" So I didn't even have to say it anymore. It's like, actually getting tiring saying it, guys. So just read the t-shirt. So yeah, a tyrant, really.
A big tyrant.
Yeah.
And then also, speaking on that, the partnership with Warner, I think this is the best place for you to be with this, because not because of Starstruck, that was also on Max here in the US, but because I still think, as opposed to Netflix, I think that Max and Warner Brothers and HBO and all that stuff still holds a lot of bravado when it comes to the name of stand-up comedy, the genre and everything, because I see people, if you see a comedian with an HBO special in the 90s and the early 2000s, that's amazing. That person's kicking
Yeah.
ass. But like now it's just, I think since everybody has one, it's less special, but to have it on a platform that's not as a big in the name with specials anymore, I think that's still great. And this is such an awesome thing to see, I'm ready to watch it on Max as soon as it comes out next week.
Yeah. I think they've been, I mean, Max has always been, I mean, Starstruck was with them as well as the first special. And I can't speak to what it is like to make a special with other places because I haven't. But they've been, they were just amazingly, they were kind of just incredible with the whole thing. I think they come and see you live. They knew who I was already, hopefully. And I think I was really kind of impressed by their, not a lack of involvement, but a lack of like interference with,
Yeah.
they obviously make a decision, and they want that person to do what they do in the best way they can. And I think any good, streamer or channel or anything is the one that can facilitate that. And yeah, it's pretty awesome to be able to do that. And I think also they've got such a variety of stuff as well. I think all of the
Yeah.
specials feel and look different in a way that I feel like sometimes other specials slightly feel like, yeah, similar things. But anyway, yeah, that's very good.
Well, Rose, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this. I'm a fan, and I'm not afraid to admit it. So
Thank
this is like a joy for me. And yeah, good luck with this special, and congratulations on everything. This is great.
Thanks, Chad. Awesome,
All right,
awesome to talk to you. Thanks so
all
much.
right.